Hello everyone, this is Paul Asadorian with Tenable Network Security, here today to tell you about a new feature added to the Nessus vulnerability scanner. Some of you may already be familiar with the ability of Nessus to detect certain types of malware by enumerating port information, detecting if the system or the systems that a target's connecting to are on a list of known botnet activity. You can also use the antivirus checking plugin to ensure that your systems are running the latest antivirus software and virus definitions. There's also audit file or compliance auditing checks with respects to antivirus software as well that we've talked about here on our YouTube channel and on our blog as well. But now Nessus has a new plugin called Malicious Process Detection. So building on top of those other things, we now have a process for which we can identify malware. So we take a process list after we log into your system and look at all the processes running on there. Take an MD5 checksum. Then we go out to this gigantic database of over 25 antivirus software vendor software, and we cross-reference the MD5 checksum of the process running on the system with the list that came back from the gigantic database of antivirus software systems. So essentially what we're doing is we're saving you the trouble of having to run every antivirus software system on the market and providing you with the checks of running processes against known malware. So let's take a look at how we configure that inside of Nessus. The first thing I want to do is create a policy. I've already created the policy. It's called Malicious Process Detection. And I come in here, essentially this first page, I'm just going to leave the defaults. I can leave safe checks enabled. I just want to give it a title on this page. This plugin does require credentials, so I want to enter my username and my password for my Windows targets. I then go into plugins, and the way I found the plugin was I did a search, a simple search by plugin name. And I said, if the plugin name contains malicious process, I'll save that, and I get back one plugin. Now this is the only plugin I've enabled in this screen. I clicked the green indication there saying that this plugin is enabled. It is part of the Windows family of plugins, and plugin 59275 is the malicious process detection, which does everything that I described earlier. In preferences, I mean, it pretty much don't change much in here. If you've got experience with running credentialed scans, you'll want to know that you might want to come in here and change the SMB registry, maybe to start the remote registry service during the scan. Just kind of a reminder for everyone on some of the things that you need to do in order to run a successful credentialed scan. So I saved this policy. I created a new scan. I called it Malicious Process Detection. I used the policy that we just created, and I gave it a scan target. I then ran the scan that we just created, and I have some results. And if I go in here, I can see that my plugin fired malicious process detection. And if I come in and I look at the results are really interesting. I think they're kind of neat. It says, hey, I found this software process running on the system that I scanned. It matches this MD5 sum to some known malware. I found that the file running was in this location, and when it was running it had this process ID or PID, and the following antivirus antivirus products rather consider this to be a bad kind of malware. And then the number of antivirus vendors that reported it as malware versus the total number tested. So 21 out of the 25 vendors thought that WinARP attacker was actually some form of malware. Now we get a URL down the bottom here, so you can copy and paste this, malwaredb.nessus.org. It's a new website which is cataloging the malware that's found by this plugin. So if I go to that page, which I happen to have opened already in this browser tab, it comes down here and says, so the detection rate for this piece of malware is 84%. It gives you some more statistics. And the nice part that I like about this report is in the antivirus results, it lists all the antivirus vendors and then what they call the particular malware. You may know a malware by a particular name, probably by the vendor that you are implementing at your organization. It's nice to see what other people call it. It's nice to see the different names, and it could give you an indication of some of the things you might be dealing with on this host. So for example, this says not a virus, not malicious. So this is categorized as malware as using it for a test. Again, it's called ARP attacker. Most people consider it malicious software at the least, but it's not necessarily a malicious virus or malware that I infected my system with. So I did. So then, when you see the screen, you can then go to and say, "Well, that host is running that malware. Let's go see it running." So here we can see it running. This is WinARP attacker actually running on the system with that IP address that I mentioned before, and there you can see that it is in fact running on the system, and it was flagged by Nessus. So again, this is a new plugin. It comes up and in your feed, and you just have to enable it. Make sure you have credentials to the systems that you're scanning, and you can take advantage of this great new feature inside the Nessus vulnerability scanner. Thanks everyone for watching.